It says, "Ve'im lo yara levavu klal mizeh." But on the other hand, if a person is haphazardly, he doesn't care. He's I'm a tzaddik, right? So we said on one hand, you cannot call yourself a rasha because it's to the detriment. But on the other hand, if he takes life haphazardly, and that's why we would need to turn to the parak of the Ramchal in parak Bet, where he says, excuse me, not parak Bet, parak Dalet. Oh, not parak Dalet. Hey, sorry. He tells us about something called leitzanut. Leitzanut literally means like a clown. He says, "V'aschok ve'leitzan." These are the person who laughs a lot, and we'll explain what it means. I don't mean literally laughs a lot. And the person who's clowning around, right? He will never do teshuvah. And in fact, it says, "Aschok hu ma'abed et levadam." He's going to cause a person to, and we'll explain that in its right time when we get to 17th parak of Tanya. We'll explain what that means, but. For our purposes, it means that a person who is haphazardly sees the world like, okay, look, you're right, I did an avera, but okay, it is what it is. That kind of person will never do teshuvah. In fact, adrabah, it's going to cause him to sink into the side of his heart. We're going to learn in a minute that his heart is the side of Yetzer Hara, because everything that comes from the heart, the desires and loves and all these things, they're all from the heart. So the Yetzer Hara lives in the heart. So whenever you see the terms that a person will go after his heart or loses control over his heart, it's referring to he's going to lose control over, again, the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, I always think about the Yetzer Hara as the mule or the ox. If we let this ox go run wild, what's going to happen? It's called a shor mu'ad. It's going to gore. It's going to cause us to do damages. That's perak nezikin. But if a person controls the ox, he can actually use it to plow and do a lot of good things with it, right? So again, like we said, but it all starts with your perspective. If a person is too much down on himself, he's not going to get anywhere. If he's too light on himself, he's also not going to get anywhere. That's what Tanya is saying. So he's saying, the person is jumping around on one end, got to be right in the middle. Hey, chalukot, there are five types of people. Tzadik v'tovlo, tzadik v'ralo, rasha v'tovlo, rasha v'ralo, v'benoni. So we're going to explain each one. Okay, so we have 45. Okay. We'll do five more minutes and then we'll end in the. Again, each part is going to take a lot of time because it's not just reading the words. We're going to be jumping around and giving the ideas. So, first we'll start with the tzaddik v'tovlo. Tzaddik v'tovlo. Okay. No, yes. So it says. So the notes bring down here that mimele eno tzarech lisbol yoter ba'olam hazeh. He needs no more suffering in this world. Right? So he cleared everything done. So Yaakov Avinu, it says, when he was living in Mitzrayim, right? So it says that those were the best years of his life. Right? How many years did he live in Mitzrayim? He lived 17 years. Keminyan Tov. At that point, he got to the level of Tzaddik v'Tovlo. He then saw. That's how he was able to see. It says, and they brought down in the Org Eliyahu that he was actually living Yemot HaMashiach in Mitzrayim. I think the Tzemach Tzedek asks his grandfather. I think the Yesabal He said, "How can it be in Mitzrayim? Dafka he lives Yemot HaMashiach." He says, "Yeah, because once he clears it down, once he's done the tikkun, then Mitzrayim is no longer Mitzrayim. Just like when a tzaddik sees his guf, it's not ta'ava. We look at the tzaddik, Oh, he's eating a piece of bread. Oh, we learned that you have to be abstaining from. Tzaddik says, what are you talking about? My neshama needs this. I can't kill the neshama. He lives for the neshama. Neshama needs it. So that's the way that's the perspective of the tzaddik. So Yaakov is a good example of someone who gets to the level of that he needs no more midat adin in the world. He was able to see Yom Mashiach, and that's why he was startled when he couldn't give the bracha to his children about when the Mashiach was coming. He said, "Must be not tzaddik here. Someone here is not righteous because I'm living in Yom Mashiach. I see it every day. We're talking about, right?" Then we have a tzaddik v'ralo. What's that? It's tzaddik she'eno gamur. He still has a little bit what to be metaken. Right, so you look at Yosef going down to Mitzrayim, and you look at a lot of the Rabbeim that they go and they get to a level. I'll tell a story of the Beish Chai. It says that he fasted for 7 straight years. He ate at night, but for 7 years. Why did he do that? Because we have a law in the Shemitah, right? 6 years you're going to work, and on the 7th year you go out for free, right? By the Evid, by the Evid. Okay, by the Jubilee year, right? By the Shemitah, you're going to go out free. So he translated that pasuk by the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, 6 years you're going to work on changing the Yetzer Hara. By the 7th year, Yetzeh Hofshi. You will actually have succeeded to kill Yetzer Hara. This is why it's bringing out stories of the Nishchai that he would eat watermelons. I told you, we eat watermelons, dafko in the season that's not the watermelon season. Why? Because he didn't want, right? He didn't want to give the Yetzer Hara even a slightest opening of a tava, not even a slice opening. He needs to eat the watermelon, right? He needs to drink it and eat it. That's fine, no problem. But he didn't want to give it in such a way that it was going to even instigate the Yetzer Hara a little bit of a fuse, Again, that's a definite. I'm not saying but we should know where we can go to. Okay, so that's פירוש שבגמרא מלמד אותנו ששני צדיקים אלה, האחד שטוב לו והשני שרע לו. We said we have two tzadikim, and we'll end with this point. אינו באותו מדרגה. They're not on the same level at all. They're not on the same level. אלה שלזה טוב ולזה רע. This one has good, and this one is not having good. What does it mean? כי אם אילו הן שתי מדרגות מיוחדות בצדיקים. These are two special, again, they're tzadikim. Again, what does it mean tzadik? Tzadik means he killed the Yetzer Hara. He killed his Yetzer Hara. So now what's left? What can be possibly left? That means that when he looks at the cookie, he has no desire to eat the cookie. When his body will tell him, I'm hungry, he will say, okay, is it worth it for me to eat the cookie? Or should I eat a fruit instead? That's where he's holding. He can get him to that level. He can make the calculations. And it's almost as if you're able to look at everything in life and put it in the boxes. I'm not hungry right now, put it away. And it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm losing out. No. Looks at the fruit, says, ooh, fruit equals four vitamins, cookie equals 0 vitamins.
Someone on a diet is the same way, no?
Actually something very interesting. There's an Israeli Amazah today that's like a this one key, kind of like a USB on key. You apply it like with a laser to like a fruit, and it tells you 5 this.
Really, all the stats.
Okay, this is good.
So now they have to put on that also, just put the bracha, and we're good. What is this one? Oh, it's okay. It's and it has.
Take 3 or more.
Wow, that's an amazing invention.
Yeah, you put it on there. If you're doing all that information, but okay.
Does he eat it or not? Finally, after he says this fruit or food.
So once he finds the fruit, he eats it. Yeah. Yep. So he says, גם לפי פירוש זה בגמרא אין בציונם טוב לו ורע לו משום תואר להדרגת מדרגותם של צדיקים אלא. So what's the tov and the ra by the tzadikim? What is it referring to? So it's like this: tzadik gamur, but tzadik she'eno gamur. One is completed, meaning right. So he finishes tikkun, meaning any neshama that came before him that he was fixing, rectifying, has already been rectified. He sent whatever he needs to send up, and he now is now continuing. For example, look at the Arizal. Look at a lot of the big tzaddikim, they passed away at age 33, 38. Almost never did they make them past age 40. You look at the Ramchal, I think, right? They're all... Right. So the Ramchal, I'll give you an example. Ramchal published 80 Sfarim. 80 Sfarim.
So why did they eat so early?
Huh?
Why did they die so early?
They finished.
It's
done. It's done. I'm going to give you an example, and we'll end on this point. There was a story of we'll go into this whole story. I'll tell you the whole story. Okay. So the story goes like this: there was a famous person in the community, a very big tzaddik, and he was a working, but also balabait. His wife was a big tzaddikah. They had children. Everything was nice and good. And one day, there was a tragedy in the community, not such things, but the child was taken by a non-Jew and massacred, little boy. The community was startled. Wow, what could have caused such a, especially on this kind of a family? Okay, years passed by, and eventually the community rebounded and the family rebounded. And again, these were people that were shomer Torah mitzvot, emunah, chazakah. Many years passed, and the father became ill. So, as time progressed, it became worse and worse and worse, and the people in the community started to get together, making minyanim, and etc., etc. And long story short, he passed away. Oh, all the tefillot, couldn't believe it. So the mother was heartbroken, and after that, that was almost like the camel the straw that brought the camel's back. She was over Hashem, but it was not b'simcha anymore. It wasn't there was no fervor in it. And the children saw this week after week after week after week, and months passed, and a year passed, and 2 years passed, and one of the children said, "Yeah, this is enough. By being in Tsar down here, we're causing more pain upstairs. Do we understand that you know there's everything has its tafkid, everything has its specific appointed times?" She really took to what he said, and she was thinking about it. She said, "You know, if I'm only seeing half the picture, how can I really judge these scenarios?" And it says that night she went to sleep, the first night in years, she went to sleep with a calm heart. And that night she sees a dream. She's her husband. She's her husband. So they take her to see the husband, and she sees that he's giving a shear. She said, "Listen, I mean, he was a tzaddik, and I mean, in terms of, but he wasn't like giving a shiurim and having students, all these things." She says, "What are you doing up here, giving shiurim?" He says, "You saw me down there as a regular. I was a businessman, and I learned, but I was more of a businessman." He says, "But the previous time that I was here already in this world, I was a big tzaddik. The problem was I didn't have children. So they said you have to go back down, and now you have to have children. And they picked you that I should have children with you, and we had children." She says, "Wow, okay, it's good." She says, "But what about our son? What about our son?" He says, "Listen, because you're his mother, I can take you to see him. But normal people that come up here, they can't even see him. That's how holy he is." "Holy? What? Who is he?" She says, Come. He takes her upstairs. She sees a big light. She says, "Well, who is this?" He says to her, "This is one of the tzaddikim from the earlier generations. They came down because there was a gzerah, there was a din on our city, and he had to die. But he knew that if he was just going to die regular, it would save just the city, but it wouldn't save more than the city. So he had to make even a bigger kiddush Hashem. So he died in a very different type of death, and in order to be fixing more things, because that's the kind of neshama that this neshama was, lofty neshama." Okay, so she came back down. She understood that the world wasn't as plain as we see it, and so then they say the story as the end of it that think about two people going on a bus, and one has to get off at the 50th Street, and one has to get off at 75th Street. So the one who gets off at 50th Street says, "Okay, my bus is here. My stop is here. I'm going to go off." The one who's on to go to 75th Street says, "Wait a minute. Stay with me till 75th Street. I'll talk with me. I'm on board." "No, stay with me till." He says, "If I stay with you till 75th Street, then I got to catch a ride all the way back." "I can't do that. My stop is here. I got to get off the stop." He says, that's when each person's stop is. He says, the tzaddikim, their stop was at 33rd Street. They got off the 33rd Street station. That's it. There's other guys at 75th Street, Midtown. Some tzaddikim are at 110th Street. So, okay, that's where they're going to get off to. But we shouldn't think, Hashem, tzaddik v'ralo, that's it. Where's the justice in the world? He says, no, that's why we call Hashem tzaddik ve'emet, ish chesed, right? So Be'ezrat Hashem, that we'll keep continuing putting the two together. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll get to the ideas again, not just to understand that yes, there's Hasidut, and yes, there is idea of we want to connect to God. How do you connect to God? And that's going to require constant and consistent bringing the mitzvah into a level of relationship, and that's the whole goal of these things.
have העץ שהכל המזונות.